Coming up on this episode of Falmouth in Focus, we find out about a new, unique art exhibit at the library. We look at a partnership between a high school sports team and a local fitness facility. The fire department introduces us to its new fire engine, and we visit a local girl whose curling skills got her to nationals. All this and much more on this edition of Falmouth in Focus.
Hello and welcome to Falmouth in Focus, FCTV's current affairs program. I'm Liz Lerner, the Membership and Outreach Coordinator for FCTV. We'll start this episode with a video that's gone viral. For 15 years now, No Guff Week has been a time when students and staff at the Falmouth Public Schools work together to create a positive atmosphere. Morse Pond teacher Brian Switzer wrote, directed, and edited the following video along with producer Ann Goulart.
Hey, what's up? I'm a typical kid from a typical town. I'm a boy.
And I'm just a typical girl. My family, I could have one parent at home or maybe both.
I'm any color a person can be. You get the idea.
It doesn't matter who I am for this story. I'm every kid.
Like most people, I know the difference between right and wrong. But as for always doing the right thing,
I have to tell you, it's not always that simple.
Let me tell you a story.
Let me tell you a story.
Let me tell you a story.
It's a simple story, but a good one, so hear me out. I was on the playground hanging out with some really good friends. We like each other, we like the same clothes, we like the same TV shows. Anyway, we're outside the school, and we see this kid who we don't know. They're dressed a bit differently than the rest of us, and they look confused. We go over to the kid and ask who they are. Turns out they just moved to town. We're standing there just looking at the kid like they're a piece of artwork in a museum. I'm thinking to myself, man, I'm glad I'm not that kid.
just then someone in the group said something kind of mean to the kid. Actually, it wasn't super mean, but you could tell the new kid was feeling like everyone was looking at them.
Here's what happened. My friend says, oh my gosh, where did you go get those clothes? Are you like trying to be different or something? Everyone looked at the new kid and it was really awkward. I think a few kids laughed.
Now, I'm not a super brave person, and I'll tell you right now, this is no super kid story.
This is no super kid story.
This is no super kid story.
But I could tell that the new kids' feelings were hurt. They didn't know what to say, and so they just shrugged, and that's it.
That's not the end of the story. It gets better.
I had a teacher last year who was fond of saying, no act of kindness, no matter how small, is ever wasted.
I never really thought too hard about that, but as I walked back to the classroom, the saying just kept popping into my mind.
No act of kindness, no matter how small, is ever wasted.
No act of kindness, no matter how small, is ever wasted.
No act of kindness, no matter how small, is ever wasted.
No act of kindness, no matter how small, is ever wasted.
But what could I do? I didn't want my own friends to hate me. I was too scared to say anything.
To do something or not, at that moment, I just didn't have the guts.
However, in class that afternoon, I was sitting right near the new kid, and I looked over at her.
She obviously wasn't prepared for class, and I could tell this because she didn't even have a pencil. I was just starting to think about what kind of kid doesn't come prepared for class when that saying popped up into my mind again. No act of kindness, no matter how small, is ever wasted. I realized I had an extra pencil, and so I just offered it to the new kid.
She looked at me kind of funny at first, but then a smile came to her face. She took it and said thanks.
What happened next is the best part of the story. I looked at my friends who were staring at us and they smiled. Actually, one of my friends gave her an eraser as well. That made me feel really good.
Now, I'm not perfect.
I'm not perfect.
I'm not perfect.
Now, I admit I wasn't being super kid when I offered the pencil.
However, I will say that doing this little act of kindness really made me feel good as well.
I'm starting to understand what no act of kindness, no matter how small, is ever wasted means. It means it doesn't take much to be nice. It's actually just as easy as being mean. The results are way better.
So, what's the moral of this story? I think it means that kindness starts with me and moves out to others.
It's a ripple of niceness, like throwing a pebble into the water and watching as the waves move out from the center.
These waves of kindness, well, they start with me.
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 Me. Me. Me.
These ripples, they continue to go out through everybody they touch.
The more kindness I do, the more kindness I see.
Ride the wave of kindness.
Ride the wave of kindness! Ride the wave! You can do it! Ride the wave! Ride the wave of kindness!
Thank you to Brian Switzer for sharing that video with us. Later in the show, Troy Clarkson sits down with Brian to talk about how the video was created and the motivation behind its message. The Falmouth Public Library has a new exhibit at its main branch. Reference librarian Jill Erickson shares with us the details of this hidden art.
This is one of the craziest things that we've ever done here, which is that we actually, this exhibit all started with a tweet. That is to say, on Twitter, there's somebody I follow called Library Incubator. There are two women in Wisconsin who are encouraging artists to go to libraries and do projects with libraries in various ways, all kinds of ways. And so this fellow in England, whose name was Anton, had this project where he took artists and he decided to actually have them make flip books out of old books. So the idea was that he would bring in the artist, he would give them old books, not the books that are currently on the shelves, this would all be old books, and he would have them do whatever they wanted, remake the book in some way. Most of them are in fact flip books. And what he was looking for, and this was what I first read in the first interview I read with him about this, it says, Anton is interested in bringing the flip books and libraries projects to libraries in the United States and other communities outside of the UK. Well, the flip books actually have now arrived in the library. They got here at the beginning of January. And they are now sitting on our shelves. There are in fact only 13 of them. And the 13 are all very different from one another. There are some that are your real traditional flip book and some that are very different. And I've got a few examples here of what they are. This is one which is called Uncle James's Sketchbook. And in this case, it's really all about the paper cutting. An artist has taken the book and cut out pages in it in order to make other images. And so that's what's happening with that one. And then we have a really typical book, The Pigeon. This is a real classic flip book, which starts out with one little bird, and then gradually you go through and in and in and in till finally you're actually in the bird's eye. We hope that people come across them two ways. Either they've actually heard about the show and so they're coming to see it, but we also hope that people just find them and that they'll be going to look for something next to Patrick Susskind and find this pigeon book. So there could be two ways of entering into this artwork. And we think it's going to be a lot of fun.
The library is looking to have their own permanent version of flip books. If you or someone you know is an artist that would like to take part in this project and create their version of a flip book at the library, then they'd like to hear from you. The library's main email address is info@falmouthpubliclibrary.org. The West Falmouth Fire Station made news in November when its fire engine didn't pass state inspection. FCTV recently spoke with Deputy Fire Chief Scott Thrasher about a new engine that took its place.
I'm here at Station 4, and this is our
newest engine we acquired from Southold, New York, which is at the very end of Long Island. And we looked at an extensive amount of fire engines that would fit the station. And after viewing 5 of them, this seemed to fit the bill. It fit the station, which was the main thing, but it also fit some of our operational needs. We were looking for something that was in fairly decent shape, matched closely to what we had for equipment that we could put on the truck and operate out of the station, and be intuitive and safe for the firefighters, because it's difficult to find a match when you're not getting a custom pumper. So basically the truck's a Detroit diesel with a 1,500 gallon per minute single stage pump, which is what our new engines have on them. It's a 92 Sutphen. The body's stainless, which is why it held up so well, and it was used by a volunteer fire company. So the condition was in fairly good shape. It was a unique find for a used fire truck. A lot of the others we looked at fell very short of the mark. It's a 500 gallon tank. It's got a 50 gallon foam cell that we can lay Class B foam off of one of the hand lines, which kind of matches what we have with our older engines. And all of our equipment we were able to put on it. So it was a good fit for the station, and being able to at least maintain the standard that we had here before. So once the truck was ready to train on, we brought the training division in. We ran through the truck, got ourselves up to speed on the apparatus itself, and then we took 4 separate days with the 4 different shifts while on duty, and we went around to the different stations and we trained all the firefighters on the apparatus to make sure they could operate it safely and they were in tune with the nuances to this new engine for us. And once we got through that, we had a final punch list of mechanical issues that we had to work on. It was back at the shop, and our mechanics division, once again, they brought it into the shop and they took care of all of the discrepancies we had logged. So it was good to use the truck for a while and work out the bugs, and it came in on last Friday and it's in service.
Thank you to Government Channel 15's Jeff Wyman for that piece. Also from the government side of things, we bring you the latest from Town Hall. The following selections are chosen based on community impact.
The Board of Selectmen discussed changing the parking policy for Main Street on January 25th.
I think what you said in terms of the 3 hours, I'd be willing to, to go forth on that right now, because most of what the business has said, we heard the same thing. 2 hours was too small. It had to be at least 3, and so I'm comfortable with moving ahead with that.
The board unanimously agreed to try for a period of 1 year to extend the current 1-hour parking limit to 3 hours, which they feel will allow people to enjoy Main Street longer, but maintains regular turnover of parking on Main Street. The Falmouth Economic Development Industrial Corporation came before the selectmen to discuss their proposed plan for a solar array on the Falmouth landfill. EDIC Chairman Michael Galasso answered various questions the selectmen had asked during a previous meeting, including cost and benefits of the project.
So I think we've not only earned the $100,000 a year, but I think it's a good investment. We turned $100,000 for this solar project into a $10 million savings for the town. That's the type of work that we do. And I think it's a good investment for the town, it's a good investment for this board, for the funds.
The selectmen voted to authorize the town manager to begin negotiations on a lease agreement for the project and allow the EDIC to continue moving forward on their development and planning of the solar array. Attorneys for both sides of the special permit regarding Win 1 gave their closing statements before the Zoning Board of Appeals on January 28th.
My hat is off. We're in a mess. We got into this mess together. I don't think we need to point fingers, but I think we need to be smart about how we get out of this mess. And granting a special permit with a set of conditions that don't make sense isn't the way. I thank you for the courtesies extended to my clients and me and the Andersons and Attorney Watt, and I wish you good luck in your deliberations.
I would close by saying that the proposed Wind 1 project, I shouldn't call it proposed, the existing Wind 1 turbine is consistent with the bylaw's purposes. It encourages an appropriate use of land use. One of your bylaw's purposes is prevention of pollution in the environment. Wind 1 achieves that. and it is also consistent with the Town of Falmouth's master plan.
After several hearings, the board voted to close the hearing and will begin deliberation on Saturday, February 27th at 9 a.m.
Thank you to Michael Sperling for that video. To see the meetings in their entirety, check out Government Channel 15's program schedule at fctv.org. We have a few events to let you know about before we take a break. There are 2 more Black History Month events taking place in Woods Hole. On Thursday, February 18th, Richard Taylor will discuss Woods Hole and Martha's Vineyard, Civil Rights Frontline, at noon at MBL's Swope Center, and Harambe, an annual ethnic potluck feast celebrating everyone of every race, will be held on Thursday, February 25th. Multicultural arts, food, and entertainment will take place at 4 p.m., also at MBL's Swope Center. The 2016 Falmouth Museums on the Green lecture schedule is out and includes 21 lectures to choose from in the coming months. More information about all of these lectures can be found on the Museums on the Green website. And the Falmouth Artists Guild is hosting a school vacation art camp at the Falmouth Art Center from 9 a.m. until noon, Monday through Friday of February Vacation Week. More information can be found at falmouthart.org. We're going to take a quick break to introduce you to a cat that's up for adoption from People for Cats. But when we return, we'll take a look at 2 different sports stories. One about an 8th grader who just competed in nationals in her sport, and another about a local fitness facility that's working with one of Falmouth High School's athletic teams.
Lily is a beautiful black domestic short-hair female. This lady is 9 years young, medium-large in stature, sports a gleaming black coat with a little white spot on her chest, and has pretty green eyes. Lily is a sweet girl who loves attention. She's now looking for a forever home to spend her remaining years. She has the early stages of renal disease, which can be handled with a special diet. Lily is available for either adoption or a long-time foster situation. You can visit People for Cats on Wednesdays from 4 to 6 p.m. and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at their location at 44 Beagle Lane.
Welcome back. Curling isn't a sport you often see 8th graders playing, but one local girl has gotten so good that she's competing at the national level.
I love the curling club. It's like my second home. Every time I come on the ice, it's like my own little world. And it's all happiness, and I love throwing the rocks and the sounds and everything. I've been curling for 8 years now, and I've played on multiple teams, but the team I have right now is Team Rogers.
I'm Lynn Sanzali. I'm Anna's mom and entourage. Being her supporter and #1 fan, it's been awesome. It's given us a lot of time to spend one-on-one time together. We travel to practices and different competitions together, so it's, I think, really brought us closer. The fact that our club allows our junior curlers to curl with the adults and gives them as much ice time as they do to practice and even just come down and throw rocks on their own, it's fabulous.
I'm Robert Dunkley, and I'm the junior coach for here at the Cape Cod Curling Club. And Anna joined the club several years ago. She's now been in the junior program for at least 2 or 3 years, and this year has gone to try out and went to the national playdown.
Nationals was amazing. It was a new experience for me. I've never done anything like it. It was really nerve-wracking at first, but as soon as I got to meet everybody, they were all really kind and really nice, and it was a lot of fun. Our team came together when we were younger. We met at different bonspiels that we played at, different tournaments and everything, and we just became friends at one point, and we decided we should try a team together, and we did, and it was a lot of fun.
It's very stressful being on the sidelines of any competition, but at the national level, so much more so. There's nothing you can do. You can't say anything. You can't coach. You can't say, great shot. Oh, keep your head up. You're doing great.
Now she'll hopefully be recognized a little more in the entire U.S. and our region for sure, and I'm working with our regional area to see if we can get one of the national coaches to come in and try and help their team out specifically.
After going to nationals, I kind of just want to keep playing as a competitive curler, not get too much into my head, but if I can go to nationals again, that'd be wonderful. And eventually, when I'm older, I'd like to go to Worlds and farther, but at the moment, my head is just in nationals and playing with my team.
Thank you to Michael Sperling for that piece. For many high school sports teams, simply going to practice isn't enough to stay competitive. In this piece, we take a look at what a local fitness facility is doing to help local athletes stay in the game. With muscles still warm from an on-ice practice, members from the Falmouth High School boys hockey team walk the 20 feet from the ice rink to the training facility at APT, Athletic Performance Training. Pete Tormey, a former professional hockey player, leads the group through a series of exercises that aim to not only make the athletes stronger, but to keep them injury-free as well.
Yeah, so the Falmouth Ice varsity team just came off the ice. So what we did pretty much, we went through some soft tissue work, which is self-myofascial release. In layman's terms, it's just foam rolling. It's really good for tissue quality, blood circulation, all that kind of stuff. Then we went through some activation exercises. We're just trying to re-educate some muscles in the body so they're firing properly. And then we went through some joint mobility drills with different ranges of motion.
Pete says that unfortunately injury rates are going up in young athletes. A goal of APT is to help alleviate the stress that can occur on joints when athletes are one sport focused. Mike Donahue explains the assessment process that their athletes go through.
I have Mark here who's going to help me. We're just going to go through what we see with our athletes when they come in. Pretty much we get our athletes in first. We go through a basic assessment with them. We look at them in a couple different patterns. We look at them in a sagittal pattern, a frontal pattern, and a transverse pattern. So we always start with a static assessment first. So what we're looking for is just any asymmetries from the left to right side. Sometimes with our athletes, we'll see one side's worse than the other. It's really good for us to take note of before we put our hands on our athletes, just to see where their ranges of motion are.
The boys hockey boosters made this opportunity a reality, and the players seem to appreciate it.
I'm actually still trying to recover from my shoulder injury that I had in the fall playing for my other team that I play for in the off season. I mean, it definitely brings the team together. I think that's a part of a successful team is having team chemistry. And I mean, it definitely helps us physically wise with getting our bodies either back in shape or maintaining our strength that we've built up through the fall and the off season.
The team gets to visit APT twice a week after practice, and a handful of the players visit the facility on their own time.
Pretty funny. I've been open up 3.5 years, and when I first came down here, strength and conditioning wasn't really predominant down here for whatever reason it was. And some of the trends and philosophies that we have, people didn't really comprehend or understand. So the more and more we inform people, the more familiar they came with it, and they realized that what we were doing was the correct way to kind of go about the movement prep and go about actually athletic training.
Thank you to APT and the Falmouth High boys hockey team for letting us visit their session. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, Troy Clarkson sits down with the Wave of Kindness creator, Brian Switzer. Welcome back. In another piece by Troy Clarkson, he sits down with local teacher and filmmaker Brian Switzer to discuss the message portrayed in No Guff Week, A Wave of Kindness, Ride the Wave.
Thanks, Liz. That video you saw, Riding the Wave of Kindness, a little earlier in the show, that was a real team effort. And locals, Brian Switzer and Ann Goulart, two teachers in the Falmouth Public Schools, brought together a team of people that put that video together. Since it's been uploaded, it's had more than 200,000 hits worldwide, people riding that wave of kindness that started right here in Falmouth. So I had the chance to sit down and talk with Brian Switzer about that video, not only what it meant to the young people here in Falmouth that put it together, but really what it means for all of Falmouth. So Brian, this video is a viral success here in Falmouth, and I think it's not only the wonderful quality of the video that you've put together, but really the message that it conveys to residents of all ages.
And, I agree with you. I think it's not only the quality of the video, but it resonates, the message. And it's a simple message, and I think people get that we're not making it seem like we want kids to be something that is impossible to attain. We say that in the video. It's the small things, the simple things, and that's the message that I think resonates with people.
And so the great message in that video really is pervasive in all of the work that you do, from the videos about the community of Woods Hole to last year's This is Falmouth. Really, it's a story about what's right with this community.
I think it's just me, Troy. I think there was a point in my life where, when you're young, you're not sure what you're supposed to do, and you're not sure the messages you get from the society. There was a point in my life where I realized the person I am is the person who wants to be nice to people. I don't know what it was. And so as I started doing, of course I do a lot of theater, and as I started getting into film work, that's the message that I want to send. My wife will tell you, I don't want to watch things on television that are negative or, people, the heavy stuff, although I appreciate it. I am really about putting out a positive message in my stuff. It's true. I'm not ashamed of it, but yes. And of course, there are a lot of people into that now, and that message is becoming so popular here in America, which I think is fantastic.
And I try to do that with my writing, of course, except when I'm offering commentary. But I think it really is, it's incremental, isn't it? I mean,
yes.
You produce videos that show what's right about this community, and someone posts something positive on Facebook, and quite literally someone holds a door for someone, and that it is contagious and it grows.
It is. One of the very last lines in this video that we put out is, the more kindness I do, the more kindness I see. And it's true. It's not just about making somebody else feel good. I guess there is a selfish part of it, in that you want to feel good yourself. The way to do it is to make other people feel good, is to help others. And Falmouth is a community that understands that. There's so many people that volunteer in this town. There's so many good organizations, and how lucky are we? We live here. All the time, I'm just think how fortunate I am, and we are.
Well, it's good stuff, and I and the community thank you for doing your little part to make this this special place of ours just a little more special.
Well, what can I say? I feel fortunate. I just feel so lucky to be able to do it, and so it gives me a lot, and I like to give it to other people. So thank you. I appreciate you doing what you do too, and it's good. It's all good. Here we are. It's like a mutual, what do they call this? Like a mutual admiration society.
Right. Well, Brian said it best. The more kindness we do, the more kindness we see. And so we each can do our little part to make each day in this wonderful place a little better for all of us. I'm Falmouth Enterprise columnist Troy Clarkson, and that's my take. Back to you, Liz.
Thank you, Troy. As our last piece showed you, Falmouth in Focus is a collaborative program. We'd like to invite all Falmouth residents and visitors to share their slice of life with us. Email us your photos or videos, or upload them to Facebook or Twitter, and use the hashtag MyFalmouth and Falmouth in Focus to be featured on the show. Thank you and welcome to our new contributors, Alicia Orsini-Labita, Marcia Hewitt, and Kirsten Karplus. We're going to end the show with sights and sounds from the recent snowstorm we had, with footage around Long Pond from FCTV member Allison Leshin. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Falmouth in Focus. We'll see you next time.
It's been great cross-country skiing around Long Pond this week after the storm over the weekend. Today's probably the last day. You can see it's like 50 degrees, and it's starting to melt. Tracks are getting a little thin. A little bit of color in this otherwise mostly black and white landscape. A little while I film so you can see how good it is. It's one of the beautiful conservation areas we have here in Falmouth for everybody to enjoy, so hope you were able to get out and enjoy it. It's a winter wonderland out here.